Ok, bienvenue, bonjour. Aujourd'hui, c'est le mercredi 2 décembre. So here we're really going to start doing this. We are about to realize this objective. On va commencer avec les loisirs. Ensuite, je vais vous parler de la lettre à la fin du semestre. Et puis, on va regarder les textes modèles et pour demain. So a quick reminder of the Social Justice Youth Summit. This is a link to the Zoom, to our Zoom, our class Zoom, first hour discussion. So third hour, it's the same link for y'all. It's the Zoom session that you're in right now. The assembly link, this one is not going to work for you, okay? I put it in my calendar because I'm going with my first hour class, but you'll be going with your first hour class. I want to make that clear, and that's a different link. So hopefully your first hour class has done something similar in their calendar, right? Where you've got a link to the assembly, all right? So hopefully they've talked about that a little bit. So you will be going with your first hour class. And then our class for French 2, third hour, is going to start at 1 p.m. All right, so it's going to be pretty different that day. And I just wanted to give you all a reminder because it's a little different from usual. Do you have any questions for me about that, about the assembly or about the plan for Friday? All right, okay. Donc, échauffement, warm-up, échauffement. Qu'est-ce que tu fais d'habitude? D'habitude, generally, d'habitude. D'habitude, qu'est-ce que tu fais le soir après les cours? Qu'est-ce que tu fais pour te détendre? To unwind. Okay. What do you do to unwind? Qu'est-ce que tu fais pour te détendre après les cours? So after virtual classes. What do you generally do to unwind? Donc, après les cours, j'aime. So go ahead and in the chat, I'd love to see everybody participate in this one. I know a lot of times it's 3 or 4 people that are holding the whole class on their shoulders, but I'd love to see all y'all practice this, all right? Because this will help you out with the letter. Donc, qu'est-ce que tu aimes faire après les cours? What do you like to do after class? And I'll write my answer to get y'all started. J'aime écouter. Donc moi, d'habitude, après les cours, j'aime écouter un podcast et jouer aux jeux vidéo. Et toi? Qu'est-ce que tu aimes faire après les cours? J'aime dormir après les cours, ouais, ok. Tu fais une sieste. Okay, so you take a nap. Tu fais une sieste après les cours. And again, I'd love to see a response from everybody in the chat. Jouer aux jeux vidéo, ouais. Cuisiner, d'accord. Donc après les cours, j'aime cuisiner, super. Tu cuisines le dîner, tu prépares le dîner le soir. Après les cours, j'aime regarder la télé. Ouais. OK. OK, donc les loisirs. Donc, quels sont des loisirs? Je vais vous donner toute une liste. I'm going to give you this whole big list. Et je ne veux pas que vous appreniez la liste entière. I don't want you to try to understand the whole list and memorize the whole list. Mais sélectionnez 3, 4, 5 activités que tu aimes ou que tu n'aimes pas. But I want you to kind of choose from this list, kind of like a buffet, all right? Choose 3, 4, maybe even 5 activities that you like to do or don't like to do. OK, donc aller au cinéma, aller au restaurant, aller au musée, aller quelque part, aller au café, aller au parc. Ce n'est pas possible maintenant avec le coronavirus, mais voilà, c'est peut-être une activité que tu aimes faire. Donc, aller au cinéma, aller au restaurant, aller au café. Écouter la musique, écouter des podcasts, Regardez la télévision, regardez Netflix, regardez Twitch. Hein, peut-être vous regardez Twitch. Hein, maybe you watch Twitch. I know I like to watch artists on Twitch sometimes, but gamers too. Parler avec tes amis. Hein, donc, peut-être tu aimes parler avec tes amis, tu aimes dormir. Hein, one person said, oh, I go to sleep after class. Okay, great. Take a nap. Faire de l'art. Making art, right? Any kind of making art. Et si tu fais de l'art, comment est-ce qu'on fait de l'art? Est-ce qu'on dessine? Est-ce qu'on peint? Donc, peut-être tu aimes dessiner. So maybe you like to draw, dessiner. Maybe you like to paint, peindre. I'm trying to make a practice of painting every day, painting minis for D&D. Donc, dessiner, j'aime peindre. J'aime lire, j'aime écrire. Maybe you like to read or maybe you like to write. J'aime lire, j'aime écrire. And you can get specific with it, right? If you want, you could say, j'aime lire de l'histoire. I like to read history. J'aime écrire des lettres. J'aime écrire des poèmes. Ou peut-être tu aimes faire du sport. Hein? Faire du sport, to work out, to exercise. Faire du sport. Maybe you like lifting weights, faire de la musculation. Faire de la musculation, faire de la muscu. Faire du sport, faire de la muscu. J'aime danser. Peut-être tu aimes faire du vélo. Tu aimes jouer aux jeux vidéo. On a beaucoup de gens qui jouent aux jeux vidéo. Ou peut-être tu aimes ne rien faire. And I'll put it in the chat. A word that the French borrow from Italian. And the French call it far niente. It's an Italian word meaning doing nothing. Ne rien faire, doing nothing. And it's not quite meditation, but it's the same principle of focusing on just chilling and being in the moment. You're not distracting yourself. You're not reading a book. You're not watching TV. You're just kind of taking in the moment. Far niente, doing nothing. Faire de la far niente. Okay. So go ahead and take a screen cap of this to help you kind of have a reference. What are some other activities you like to do? What are some other things you might want to do? And I'll pause recording if you want to speak up. OK, excellent, excellent. Hein? Et qu'est-ce que tu aimes faire? Et toi, qu'est-ce que tu aimes faire? Hein? We did this yesterday, so I'll skip through it. OK, la lettre. So for today, I asked y'all to look at the rubric. And you have this letter that is due. It's our first summative assessment. So it's our first big, chunky assignment here in French 2. And I'm asking you to turn it in Friday by 10 p.m. Now, we're spending time in class today and tomorrow and even Friday working on this stuff. And so my hope is that you can get 80, even 90% of it done in class with these workshops, all right? So here's the assignment. If you want to look at it closer, you can go to your calendar and click on it. It's also available through modules, if that's easier for you to navigate than a calendar. And so here, in a letter to a pen pal, I can introduce myself. And I'll go through that in a moment. Donc, ce vendredi, vous allez rendre une lettre d'introduction en français. Par la suite, la majorité d'entre vous enverra la lettre à un compagnon de classe en France. So again, most of y'all, so about 22 out of 40-ish, I only got 32 responses, so some of y'all still haven't responded to the survey, but 22 people said that they wanted to do this pen pal exchange. So once you've submitted this letter, I will then forward it to Madame Jourdain, and she will pair you up with a student or maybe even 2 students in France. So because only 22 of y'all expressed interest in it, that means that there are, and there are about 40 students in France who are trying to exchange letters. That means that some of y'all are gonna have more than one correspondent. So you're gonna have about 1.5 correspondence, 1.75 or something. So some of y'all might be getting letters from 2 people and exchanging letters with 2 people. Yeah, and somebody's excited about that in the chat. I'm so happy to hear that. I hope it's really fun. This first letter is an assignment and it is graded, but every letter after that, So I'm hoping you'll write about a letter a week, uh, doing your best to express yourself in French, giving a little more than just, hey, bye, giving a little substance, right? Not, doesn't have to be a novel, right? But a solid, few sentences, right? If you continue with that, you'll get extra credit. All right, so I've got an assignment set up in Power School. I won't open it now, where each week, if you're writing letters and you're copying me and Madame Jourdain on these letters, you'll be exchanging emails directly with the student. Um, uh, if you're writing those letters, you're writing at least a letter a week, and you're copying us on those emails, you will get extra credit. So I hope it's fun. One student asked last class if those letters will get graded or anything. No, if you write a letter and it's in French and it's mostly understandable, you're good, and you're keeping up with it. That's awesome. I want this to more be a fun way to connect with French culture and to connect with French folks in a way that's meaningful to you, right? And I mentioned to other class, in your letters, if you are sending it to a person, you might not want to just say where you're from, but you might also want to say like where it's at, because they might not know where Verona is in Wisconsin. In fact, I can almost guarantee they will not know. So you might want to say something like, and I'll put it in the chat, Je suis de Fitchburg, dans le Wisconsin, au nord de Chicago, right? So you're situating it, okay, it's in Wisconsin, and then it's also north of Chicago, right? It's north of Chicago, just so that they can know roughly where it is. And in exchange, you'll be getting the same thing, right? So these are students from a city that you probably don't know in France. So you're not just going to know, okay, well, France, there's Paris, which has the Eiffel Tower, but you're also going to know, okay, well, there's somebody who lives in France, who grew up in France, who lives in this city or outside of the city, because it's kind of like Verona, where it's a suburb, outside of the city in France, and they have a name, and I know that they really like to play golf or something, or we share the same interest in video games or something like that. And you're gonna have a connection, a real connection, and I'm so stoked for that, and I hope y'all are too. So yeah. So yeah, suffice to say, this first assignment is mandatory for everybody, and it will be graded. But letters afterwards, if you're participating in the pen pal thing, it's totally up to you, right? It's extra. So I want to be super clear with what I'm asking for from this letter. And just to be clear, what I'm about to announce is just this. It's in French. Okay, I'm giving it to you in French, but it's essentially a checklist. Donc, dans cette lettre, il faut saluer ton compagnon de classe. Bonjour. Se présenter, je m'appelle Ben, j'ai 33 ans et je viens de Berkeley, en Californie. Okay, pas loin de San Francisco. Okay. Se présenter, se décrire, je suis grand, je suis chauve, je suis intelligent, je suis imaginatif, je ne suis pas très sportif. OK? Mentionner des activités que tu aimes faire. J'aime jouer aux jeux vidéo, j'aime lire les romans, j'aime, je ne sais pas, j'aime regarder un film, des films classiques. Je n'aime pas regarder les sports, je ne sais pas, OK? Donc, mentionner des activités et poser au moins une question. Et puis enfin, dire au revoir, clore la lettre. Okay. So I want to be really clear with what I'm asking for y'all to do. And you'll see this word minimum keeps coming up. So let's take a look. So this is kind of the checklist, right? So this is all of what I just said, but in English. And you'll see task completion. Did you do most of these? Did you do all these things? Did you do all or most, nearly all of them? Or did you not hit all those points, right? So if you treat it like a checklist and you go through and you're able to do those things, cool, you're in good shape. All right, so this is the rubric I asked y'all to look at for today. So please, I'll go ahead and pause recording and I'll give you all a chance to ask some questions about the rubric. The rubric may seem a little overwhelming, right? It's a lot of words, but really, you can just focus on the grade you want. Say, all right, I'm good with a 90%. That's what feels doable to me, and you can just focus on that and really focus in on that. You can ignore the rest. If you're a high flyer, you really want 100%, great. If you're overwhelmed, you can say, okay, I just want 80%. I don't want 100%. You can just focus on this, right? You got the checklist up here and the goal. All right. Okay, so if questions do come up about the rubric, please email me or come through to office hours or make an appointment. I'm happy to make an appointment. Student hours are very, very open right now. So don't hesitate to sign up, okay? All right, so let's look at some model texts. La lettre, texte modèle. So what I would like you to do now, before we get into this, is what I've done is I've created kind of a worksheet, kind of like the expression bank, really geared at slowly building you up to where, okay, cool, this letter's really easy, right? Right now it might feel a little daunting, but you actually have everything you need to write it. It's just a matter of organizing your thoughts. So what I'd love for you to do is to go into the calendar. And if it works better to find it through modules, you do you. I just like to use the calendar. Se présenter worksheet. Okay, and you don't even have to click on this. You can click directly on this, and that'll take you to this file right here, which is a Google Slides, and it's a series of exercises. And you'll make a copy and you'll turn it in when you turn in that letter at the end of the week. All right. And what it is a bunch of questions in white and then answers in yellow. And so you'll answer it, you'll finish these sentences in yellow. And it's often just like one word or two words. So as I go through these, it might feel a little overwhelming, but trust me, it's just like one or two words. How old is Pauline, right? So Pauline is this age, right? But what we're doing with these is little by little, you're building up an understanding of the letters and you're understanding them, all right? So letter A, letter B. As you answer these questions, you'll get you'll get closer and closer to understanding them and learning how to kind of imitate them in your own. And then finally, we'll go to while we read, and then after reading, you'll answer these questions. So this will probably be doing tomorrow and Friday, especially Friday in class. You'll start answering these questions. And these are questions like this. We basically just did this, right, as a warm-up. What do you like to do? And then really starting to brainstorm. And then here I've given you a space to actually write the letter. So you can use this space if you want to write the letter, if that makes sense for you. If you'd rather, you can write it somewhere else and then just submit it to Canvas. I'm only seeing a couple people, so please go ahead and access that. I'll pause for a moment and give you a chance to access that and make a copy for yourself. OK, donc pour l'instant, passons à cette activité. Donc vous avez répondu à ces deux questions. Hein. Donc maintenant, voici deux textes modèles, deux exemples d'une lettre d'introduction qui atteint ou qui dépasse les attentes du travail que je vous demande de faire. Cette semaine, nous allons interpréter et analyser ces textes pour vous aider à écrire vos propres lettres. Okay? Right. So here I'm giving you two model texts that demonstrate something that either meets or goes beyond the expectations of the assignment. And so then this week, today, tomorrow, and Friday, we'll be working together in class. And I really want to encourage you to make the most of this class time to analyze and break them down so that then you can start transitioning and using these texts to inspire to imitate your own texts, your own letters. Okay, so we've got modèle A, modèle B. Modèle A, modèle B. So as we read, en lisant, while reading, let's answer the two questions on slide 4. All right. So I'll go ahead and read them aloud just for pronunciation's sake and for the recording. But you can go ahead and head over to your worksheet that you've created, right, that you've copied, and you can go ahead and answer these questions as you read these letters. So here goes. Bonjour, je m'appelle Pauline. J'ai 15 ans et je suis de Marseille, dans le sud de la France. J'ai de longs cheveux noirs et un petit nez. Je suis petite. Je suis ambitieuse, sportive et je suis assez intelligente. Pourtant, je ne suis pas très imaginative. J'aime danser, faire du vélo et jouer au foot. Je n'aime pas jouer aux jeux vidéo. Et toi, qu'est-ce que tu aimes faire? Au revoir, Pauline. Okay, and then I'll read text B. Salut, je m'appelle Fabien. J'ai 16 ans et je viens de Lille, en France. J'ai les cheveux courts et les yeux marrons. Je ne suis pas grand. Je suis sympa, patient et intelligent, mais je ne suis pas très dynamique. J'aime jouer aux échecs et écouter des podcasts, mais je n'aime pas faire du sport. Et toi, qu'est-ce que tu aimes faire? À bientôt, Fabien. Okay, so go ahead and answer these questions. How old is Pauline? How old is Fabien? And where are they from? Okay, so I'm gonna record just the ending of this and then I'll come back and we'll wrap it up properly and I can answer some questions. So we already started this in class, which is great. I'm so glad we were able to start this. So for tonight, read model text A and B and complete slides 3 and 4 in your worksheet. So these are screen caps of slides 3 and 4. So again, you've got this worksheet of your own and you're filling in the answers in yellow. Because we got so far ahead in class time, because we're able to do this in class, if you want to, you can get a little ahead. You can do another slide 5 or something. And all these are while you're reading the model text, right? So while you're reading them, what are some things that you're picking up? You've got the model text in this worksheet, the slides. And then kind of after reading it, we're breaking down what kind of information is found in each section. So I've numbered each letter, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So what's happening in part 1, part 2, part 3? So what's happening? What information is happening? We'll get to that probably on Friday. It's probably something we'll be doing on Friday. And then Friday too, we'll start making that transition towards your own letter, right? Which adjectives will you be using to describe yourself? Which activities? And we did that during the warm-up in class today, right? What do you like to do after class? Which activities will you mention? How we begin it, how you end it? And then you can use this if you want to write your letter. And by the time you get to this part of the slides, if you've done all the previous slides, it's pretty much just a matter of taking this work, copying and pasting it into the slide, and then rearranging it, right? In a way that makes sense. Okay. So for the recording's sake, I'll say au revoir, but I'll stick around for a moment. So au revoir.